Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is Eti, and today we're going to talk about configuration box and box from Python box. Okay, let's dive right in. What is config box? What is box? What are all these things? What is going on? So let's quickly dive in. Well, if you're familiar with JSON format, YML files, configuration files, you realize that a lot of data is stored in JSON formats in our square brackets, and accessing them can be uh, quite complex, especially when you have a lot of nested attributes and properties. Well, the best ways to usually go about it is through the dot notation, the object oriented way, right? So say hello to dot notations with configuration box. If you had a data point like this, where you basically have, let's say, data that contains name and contains your email, and you want to access that, is it possible to do a dot notation? Right? Nope, it's not, because you'd have to say data and then square brackets and call that attribute. That's not the object oriented way, and this is exactly where Python box comes in. Let's dive right in. So I'm gonna be using Google Colab, and I have a test configuration file right here that would help us understand this better. But before we get into that, I'm gonna close this. Let us start coding. Let's start off with by the way, the documentation is available on readthedocs.io. And as you can see, we have to first of all install Python box. So let's do that. So pip install Python box. Okay, so while that is, oh, I think I made a mistake with the. Oh, that still worked. Let's try this. Python box. Right, works both ways. Already satisfied. And now we have Python box. Let's do a quick example of an object called data with let's my name, a T, my age, let's do 26. Yeah, that's not my age. And let's add a nested object within this. Let's say my work experience. My work experience is another object. So which company did I work for? Google. Let's say for what duration? Let's say 5 years or five as integer. Let's keep it simple. So if we were to access the name property of this data, we would do something like data and square brackets name, and you can access Etsy, correct? And similarly age. And if you were to get the nested attribute of my work experience, you would do something like data or work experience, and you would have another square bracket where you call the company, right? And you can see I made a mistake somewhere. Data work experience hold on, let's do that again. Data work experience and another square bracket company. Key error. Hold on, what did I spell incorrectly? Data work experience. We didn't run this. Oh, we did before, actually. Let's try that again. Interesting. So you see, we get Google, we get Etsy, and if you were trying to achieve this the object-oriented way, so something like data.work experience.company, you would hit an attribute error. So the dictionary doesn't work like an object, and this is where our Python box comes into play. So let's import from box our imports let's do box first. And let's create a new data point, data2, and pass the initial data to the box class. And now if you call data2 dot work experience dot company, you can see that boom, you got access and everything plays really fine. So this is quite handy, especially when you have a lot of complex integrations and files and configuration files, especially. We're going to do this example directly from the documentation for config box. You can see this test configuration file contains, it's a very standard configuration file. You can also have YAML files that follows our configuration structures. This file contains a general section with an example of a string value. We have Boolean value. We have a list. Let's see how can we access this list, right? So first, let's quickly pip install reusables, and let us quickly import this library, and let's import from box, import config box, and then let us try to uh, get access to our test configuration file from the configuration box by calling the reusables config dictionary. So let's do a new configuration. It's called the config box, and let's use the reusables dot config dictionary, and let's pass our file. Remember, our file is right here, testconfig.ini, and let's run that. Now, the question is, how do we access our data? So let's open up the file on the right side. As you can see, let's see how do we access example lists. It's a list of integers, right? So for that, you would go config dot we are in the examples, right? And you would get the list, and the list is a function that would return the list of values by the key values. So example list, and when you run that, wow, you get an array of your list, and it comes as a string. If you want to convert it, you can convert it back. How do you get the floatly? Let's try to get this value. Let's see. So config that it's on the example section, and we can do floats and pass the key floatly, and you get 4.4. Amazing, right? Let's also try to get the string, general string. This is the general section, and this is quite simple. This you do not need the function, so you can directly say config.general.example, and you get a regular string. So this comes in very handy. This is exceptional. This is amazing. Uh, it makes your programming more efficient and convenient, especially in the object-oriented way. Let's try the boolean. Let's see config dot examples dot let's see if we have bool, and pass. It's called my bool. And good, you get true. True is yes, right? So you get the gist. Let's recap. Our configuration box from Python allows you to convert dictionaries to the object-oriented style of accessing these variables, and the common quite config box comes in quite handy when it comes to configuration files like INIs and YAMLs, and it's pretty simple, pretty easy to install, pretty simple to use. I hope this short tutorial helps. Thank you.